everyone. Thanks for coming back and checking out our channel. Hey, I just want to dive into what the market conditions are right now and what we're seeing. But first, I really feel the need that to talk about the economy and some of the companies that are having layoffs and that kind of thing. And of course, we're here to talk about our very favorite subject, real estate and the housing market conditions. So what I really want to share with you, though, is Redfin has recently laid off 13% of their employees. Now, this is not, just random employees. This is their division that invests houses to flip. So they are no longer buying up properties, fixing them up, and selling them. The market conditions scared them off a bit. So kind of makes me think two things. Number one, does that mean that there's a lot more opportunity for other people out there to do so? And number two, is it a great time for people to invest in properties and hold them? Put some renters in there. Rent rates right now are astronomical. So if you have the ability to buy a second home that's an investment property that you can rent out, by all means, do it. Now's the time to do that. But I do want Greg to touch on Blackrock and what is happening with them. So
Blackrock, if people are not aware of that, that is a large investment company that is broken records in the past with the most investments for their investors, and they broke the amount of investment value that they ever did was like 10 million or something like that, really high. But I want to talk about what is the additional record that they just recently broke, which is the most losing $1.7 trillion from their investors' money over the past, first 6 months of this year. $1 trillion.
that hurts.
That is an enormous amount of money that is lost, obviously on paper, but when people own that amount of value, that's got to hurt you somewhere. That money was used for retirement. That money was used for kids' college funds. That money was used for maybe renovating a property down the road and making it a flip, or doing an investment property. Multi levels of losses were huge for BlackRock and their investors. They're not the only ones that are taking hits right now. I know a lot of other big companies like Amazon and FedEx, Redfin, OPENDOOR. I mean, we don't even want to talk about that right now. That's going to be a whole nother segment because they're taking a beating. And then the railroad strike, we want to touch on that a little bit. I mean, I know that, the government was going to step in, and they did actually step in and force the railroad workers to not get any sick time, paid leave for when they're sick. That's devastating. So how does that affect the whole market, the home market, the interest rates, and so on and so forth? We have to kind of pick on each one of those. The interest rates are again going to increase. The Fed is talking about another 0.75% rate hike in December. That's not what people were expecting. This is probably twice as much as everybody was expecting in this past 6-7 months that they've raising rates. Talking about home values, and then that brings us back to home values as well.
Right. So, okay. The Fed needs to raise the interest rates so that it can correct the housing market and inflation. Of course, the last 2 years, it was all over the news. The sharp increases in the home values and home prices were way out of control. So, of course, they did have to raise interest rates. People panicked. They're freaking out. Buyers are not buying. Sellers are not selling because they don't want to buy on the other end. For example, we're one of those people. We could sell our house and move, but we have a great interest rate And so if we do that, we'd be paying an exorbitant amount of money for our next home, including a higher interest rate. So that is something we'll have to kind of circle back about. We'll keep you posted on our own personal experience with the market. That should be interesting. But let's talk about how buyers are still buying. So in our line of business, we always say, date the rate, marry the house. If you find a house that you love and you're in a position to buy, don't let the rates scare you away. Yeah, maybe you're going to have to settle a little bit on some of the amenities you were hoping to have in a home, but the rate is only temporary. There's a possibility that those rates could go back down. Certainly not in the next 4 or 5 months probably, but eventually they will creep down a little bit once the market is corrected. So don't let that scare you off.
No, and that's something also, like Kim was saying, date the rate, which means it's an opportunity there, if you don't know about, is to refinance the home with a, what they call is a recast. So we can touch on that at another time. And I know that we're giving you a lot of information right now, but I think the key is to just kind of say, hey, this is what the market's doing. This is what the industry's doing. This is what the large corporations are doing at this point. We all need to kind of figure out what's going to be the best steps and processes for you as an individual.
Right. I'm just sitting here thinking about all of these companies that are having these layoffs. And I can't help but think about any employee that gets laid off that has purchased a home in the last 2 years. Let's say they did an FHA mortgage and they put 3.5% down, and now they've lost all that 3.5%. And to be honest, they could be upside down in their house. So if they're in a position where they get laid off, they can't find another job, they need to sell their house because maybe now they can't afford it, what does that look like for them?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Are we going to start to see some short sales? Are we going to start to see some foreclosures? I don't want to go back to 2008, 2009, or 2010. So I certainly hope not. But, it's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we don't go back to that again either, because that was massive losses for people.
It was devastating.
25% loss, 30% loss of value, 50% loss of value. People were they had to foreclose on their homes because they felt that their equity would never come back. And that's probably happened to a lot of people.
And in certain parts of the country, or even certain parts of Georgia, it took so long for the market to recoup what those values should have been. I mean, it did. Some places took years. Of course, some places bounced back a lot quicker than others, but it was really devastating. And we had seen some people very close to us go through those types of situations, and it was heartbreaking. So I certainly hope we do not end up back there. But with all the layoffs that we're starting to hear about, especially, we've got friends that work for FedEx. We've got friends that work for OPENDOOR. So I'm hoping that this does not, put them in hard times.
Yeah, I know that as you're coming up to the holidays, this scary part to think about is losing your job, losing that strain of income that's coming in to be able to pay your mortgage, pay your car repairs, if you got a car payment, your insurance, food on the table. It's just a long list of bills that you have to come up with every month. So I would definitely look at this market and get an eye on what you're going to do as a person. If you're in the market to sell or buy, to trying to figure out a good game plan and how to get that done right with a good real estate team.
Yeah. Yes and yes. But I want to circle back on something because something just now popped into my head that was a memory that I had from when I was a young girl. And I'm thinking about these railroad workers that had their rights taken away, is how I see it. My dad worked for the airlines, and he was a union employee. He was a union worker. And I remember twice when I was younger that they went on strike. And there was one time where it lasted a long, long time. And my dad had to get a job as working in a liquor store. It was the holidays, and that's what prompted me to remember that, was what Greg just said. And I look back at it now, you know, there was 4 of us, 3 of my brothers and I remember that holiday being so hard on my dad. He worked so much, you know, probably at minimum wage, but just to put food on our table. And it was devastating. Like I said, it was a long time. I want to say it was like 3 months that they were on strike. And there were also times after the holidays when he actually did go in to work because we were close to probably losing our home. I don't know. My parents never shared that with me. Again, I was young. But I think about that, and I feel bad for the railroad workers, you know, being forced all these years. They're, you know, at their job, and they have the backing of the union, and now their rights are taken away to go on strike to fight for what they feel is right, and feel the need to fight for what they need. So I just wanted to share that. I know I totally saw a squirrel and went down a rabbit hole, but yeah.
I think that it's going to be a realization for a lot of people in the upcoming couple of months here as the real estate market continues to slide. It's a slumping industry, it's a slumping market. So, you know, where is that bottom going to hit? And that's what we all should be cautious about and prepare for all that as well, you know.
So if you're out there right now and you are going to purchase a home, really think about what you're purchasing, where you're purchasing. Is it going to be easy to unload if you have to? Are you overpaying? Don't do that right now, because if something happens to your job and you need to unload that house quickly, you want to make sure that you're able to get some of your equity back. So not to be a Debbie Downer. I mean, that is it's something hard to talk about, but when I work with buyers and we're talking about buying a house, sometimes it's not about like the pretty kitchen or, you know, does it have a separate shower in the primary bedroom? You know, sometimes it's about what do you need? Don't overspend, make good decisions. So if you're looking for a real estate team that's professional, that has a lot of experience, please reach out to us. If we don't sell in one of the states that you live in and you need help, we will help you find the right person to help you make a good decision when purchasing real estate.
Yeah, it is important to look at value, at resale value as well, and put that on your radar when you are purchasing a home. It's a
Always.
Great point, Kim.
So we just want to say thanks for watching today. Team Tordic Properties, Real Estate Agents of America. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.